Welcome, welcome, welcome. Real showtime. Like, sort of. I don't know. Can't figure out what's going on with AC. He's supposed to be on his way, but he's not. And so we'll deal with him when he gets here. Hopefully he can sneak in fairly quietly. Probably not, because the dog will go ape shit. You guys know that. Almost an agreement at gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Our website is live at almostanagreement.com. Lundy Massey baseball crew coming up Monday. I went to the GOP reorganization meeting today, and that was interesting. And so many other things to discuss at large, and the madness that ensues. Had a good long conversation with our insurance agent about how expensive water is in the Powell North Knox area and that debacle. And so I'm trying to figure out what can be done in a situation like that, where the utility board sucks and the county gives that utility board the right to be there and no one else to compete with them, and you, the taxpayer, just have to fucking deal with it. So I don't know, that shit that I have on my mind. We'll find out what's going on in everybody else's heads here in just a sec. So yeah, the Max, what? How much you pay for wastewater and water?
A shit ton.
Well,
here, I got my bill right here. I was getting ready to write the check.
What handy timing! As if we prepared for this, which we actually didn't.
I did it. It just happened to be here. I just pulled up my checkbook. So my water for last month, which was the shortest month of the year, is $132.39.
For water and wastewater, or do you have septic?
Water and wastewater.
130 something.
132.
That's not bad. That sounds bad.
Hallsdale Powell.
That's not that bad. Just water? Well, I'm trying to think. I'd have to look at mine. I don't have mine in front of me. But I want to say, because I have water only, we've talked about my septic issue, but I want to say my water only is like 30, 35. And then everybody says wastewater's 2 to 3 times whatever your water is. So low estimate of my water's 20 at 2.5 times. That's $50. So I'll be in the $70, $75 range. Okay, never mind. Yours
so you're about half of me?
Yeah, you're right. That is ridiculous. Well, I mean, the one to me is the shop one. What do we pay? $80 a month for a toilet and a sink?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just, I can't fathom it. And I mean, I've heard some different stories about, like, apparently when Hallsdale came in and took over from whoever was there previously, there was discussion about tons and tons and tons of line replacement they were going to have to do, and everybody said that was part of the cost. And so, you know, it is that part of it. But again, I don't understand how a thing like this can exist, and it be such a large issue for so many people, and nobody seems to want to listen to it or talk about it outside of the small group of people that are angry about it.
You don't have a choice. That's the thing, is they can charge us whatever the hell they want or whatever, because we don't have a choice. Like,
there's no other option.
Water.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is that it's supposed to be, and that's one of my little projects I've been working on is all the different boards and commissions and offices and whatnot that exist within the either the mayor's office for the county or under the commission, or that are obligated by the state. And one of those is it's a utility. It's to oversight on the utilities that are available. And from what I gather, this board doesn't seem to think that there's anything they can do, or that something like that, to combat the issue with Hallsdale. So, like, apparently Hallsdale has the evidence that the cost is related to what it actually takes to provide the service, not that it's them overcharging or being terrible at their job. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, what does that mean? Like, the owner makes $10 billion a year, and that's, you know, part of the cost of the business. Like,
right?
You know, you can say anything's the cost of running the business, depending on what you're paying your people.
Right, and I don't have that that portion of the evidence to speak to specifically, but the way it was, at least strongly implied to me, is that that's not the case. It's that the system is so terribly inefficient and old and whatever that they're spending bukus of dollars trying to keep it up and running and functional because of the state of the system, not because of people making a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. Who cares? Like it's bullshit either way. It's they because they have said monopoly doesn't give them the right to suck at their job and to blame it on what they have. They should, as long as they've been there, they should be better than that if that's the real reason.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, but.
My initial thought would be just kind of hard if you had 2 or 3 companies in there and just in a single neighborhood of different neighbors having different suppliers. And then if there is a leak, trying to point the finger at, like, oh, well, that's on your side because your neighbor and that's, your company that's doing that.
Well, that's their call. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. It would just get confusing trying to figure out.
I don't know. Okay, hold on.
Who's supposed to be fixing it?
Let's think it logically here. How big is a water line?
Depends on if it's coming in or going out, I guess.
I mean, like, at least for me, my sewage line they just put in is a 4-inch line. It's not very big. And then at least from the meter to my house, it's like a 3/4-inch copper line.
Yeah, I was
from
about to say,
the
I
meter
think
to my
they're
house.
like 1-inch tops.
I don't know what I don't know how big the main is, but I mean, if most utilities are either under the road or at the easement immediately on either side of the road, outside of a real sewer where it's like you could walk in it like a Paris sewer kind of deal.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that the space between the 4 or 5 feet of easement, the actual road itself, and then the 4 or 5 feet of easement on the other side could cover multiple water. I mean, because that's really water is the only thing that's obligated underground. Everything else can be on lines.
Right. Sometimes to find a leak, I've seen people dig up 20 feet.
Well, yeah,
of area just trying to figure out where the leak's coming from.
Right, but that would be the responsibility of those companies, not the individuals, unless it's on your personal side of the meter.
Right.
And again, it doesn't matter who the utility company is. If the water leaks on your side of the meter, it's your problem.
Right.
But if the water leaks on their side, then it's their problem. We've had one here.
Right, that's what I'm saying. In the case that it would be their problem, where one company's dug up 20 feet of theirs and they've proven that they don't have a leak, but they've paid some guy to dig all that up, and they're like, oh, it's actually on Acme Water Company.
I mean, again, that's the I would think that over a period of time that would lead to an innovation in some sort of testing system that a utility would want to have, so that they can verify that it's their problem, that they're going to spend the money to go out and send somebody to dig it up.
Well, they've got things in place where they can kind of look at, because I've gotten a call, like an automated call from KUB. It was like, hey, we've noticed increase in outgoing water that's outside of your normal range. You may have a water leak.
Right, and again, but that's I would think that over the span of time that would come out in the consumer's advantage, which would be the point. That's the problem with a utility, a government-sponsored monopoly in general, like a utility, is that the incentive for them to do better is not there. I mean, I don't know, like they certainly seem hot on the idea of charging me the $1,500 to give me access to sewage, but I've heard plenty of stories from plenty of people when they're having problems with X, Y, or Z that they don't really try that hard to get it done until they have to.
Yeah, we've had this argument before. What's the role of a CEO to make their investors money?
Sure. So it was wait. It was $1,500 for access for you for AUB?
For wastewater access, if I go that way, yes. I'm working on trying to figure out how to not.
Hallsdale Powell was $2,500 to have access.
Slam.
So why is there such a big difference between? Why is it $1,000 more through Hallsdale Powell? Because when we put our building on, I was going to go access, and it was for KUB power. It was $99 for them to run power to my building, but for me to have access to tie into the sewer, it was $2,500 for access, but I still paid from my building to the curb. And that was if they didn't have to dig up the street.
Right. I don't know. I mean, that is a valid question. I would guess, just a flat guess would be that KUB in its size and breadth is more capable of doing something. They have more crews available and probably have more experience in their crews that they have doing that job than Hallsdale does, just out of sheer size.
No, because Hallsdale Powell wants to screw everybody in this area.
Well, that is an opinion. If you can put facts on that, other than they charge a lot of money, I would agree with you. And I'm not. And in fairness, I don't fully disagree with you. And you're right. They and that's the gist of the discussion right now is you can't do anything about it. You're stuck. Wastewater. I mean, yeah. I'm pretty sure you go to jail if you ran your plumbing just straight out in your yard.
Yeah.
or you get your house seized, or there'd be a significant penalty from the local government for you refusing to use the wastewater part of services. I'm pretty sure Knox County's okay. I'm trying to remember where it was. There are places around that you are not allowed to collect rainwater.
I heard Brazil started doing that right around the time of the Olympics. They forbade people from collecting water.
Yeah, and so I don't know enough about water tables and how those work as far as well water in county, how capable it is of building and functioning on well water in a home in county.
I mean, I have the cistern in my front yard that has water in it, and I'm probably going to try to figure out how to get a pump down there. I don't think it's drinkable water, but like watering the plants in the yard and
right,
shit like that.
Non-potable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume you could put some sort of filtration system in, but I would say even just for getting a pump in there to pump it out to water the yard, I bet you have to pull. You maybe not have to. Yeah, you were supposed to. Maybe have to might not be the correct word, but I'm sure you have to pull a permit to put a pump in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's old as shit. I mean, it's been here for forever.
Right. I'm just saying this it's not like if you wanted to do a well for whatever reason that it's just dig a hole in your yard and make yourself a well. It's ask permission, and I'm sure it's not easy to get permission, and then pay to do the work, and then pay some sort of county tax or fee to boot to not be on the system.
To own my own water on my own property. I'm sure there is. I agree.
That's the problem with the game. So
pretty sure Knox County doesn't have any kind of prohibition on collecting rainwater. But for a while, there was a tractor trailer that was showing up at the mall that was selling the rain barrels.
Right. I mean, I've thought about it. Especially I'm thinking about it again now, especially in the conversation of going into sewage.
Done when your backyard was flooding all the time just by rainwater. I can start collecting that.
Yeah. Well, now I'm just thinking. I mean, just if I can do, if I can just do the yard watering and whatever I can do out of, downspout barrels.
Right.
Instead of running water, because your wastewater is charged off of how much water comes in. So anything I can do to reduce how much water I'm using, not because I want to reduce my water usage, just because I don't want to pay for my gray and black water to go out. And so I'm thinking about doing that again. And I don't know. Yeah, which is weird because I mean, in the new environmental age that we've become, I mean, I think it would be something that would be encouraged in most places. But
I mean, I did think water conservation is something. I think it's one of the most pressing things going on with the environment right now. I mean, more and more subdivisions popping up. Everybody wanting to water their lawn, and nobody really thinks about how much or how little actual drinkable water there is on Earth.
Right. I mean, it's the same as it's always been.
But I don't water my grass. Like, I water some plants, but I don't water my yard.
All right.
Yeah, I don't either. But I'm not the type that takes super pride in how nice my yard looks. I just don't want it to look terrible.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. A lot of people, they want to buy that nice looking grass, but what they don't realize is that nice looking grass isn't native to this area.
Right. It doesn't function well.
It requires a lot more water for you to keep it looking that beautiful.
Right. It doesn't function well in this climate and whatever, and yeah, I don't.
So you go to Arizona, you see a lot more rock yards, there's no grass at all,
right.
Or they've got the AstroTurf they've started to put down.
It'd be kind of fun if it could stay clean. I just feel like it'd get dirt, a different kind of dirty.
Take a vacuum out there too.
Yeah, I just feel like it'd get a different kind of dirty that'd be very uncomfortable.
Some of the rock yards look pretty cool. It'd be a bitch to walk around on, but.
Yeah, but it's 110 degrees outside. You're not walking around anyway.
That's true.
You're just looking at the beautiful
looking
view.
for shade to run from one shade to the next.
But so yeah, I went to the GOP reorganizing thing this morning. That was interesting. Got to meet a few people face to face that I've done Zoom calls with that I haven't actually gotten to meet just because of the timing and scheduling and pandemic. I mean, I really feel like as much as I prefer to have people in here for interviews, I feel like it's easier. It's so much easier having the option to do Zoom just because they don't have to make the time to make the trip plus the interview and then return to whatever they're doing in their lives. If I take an hour of their time, if it's a Zoom call, it's only an hour of their time.
Right.
Or if I take an hour of their time in person, it's at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. So got to meet Biggs came here. I got to meet Eddie Manis face to face. I've had him on a couple times. I got to meet Eric Waiter from the Nats guys. A couple of people that are petitioning to run for city council seats here this year. That's going to be the campaign. The campaigns that we get to do this year is 2021 is city only. So Sam and AC are the only ones that get to vote in that. Me and Max don't. I did learn though.
You're going to have people on it, and you can't make a decision. That's funny.
Yeah, well, I had plenty of people on in county races that I didn't get to make a decision on because they weren't my district. But
that's true.
For you and me, who are the two that don't get to vote for city races, that reminds me, and this is something I want to talk to Massey about too. Massey's working on a bill in state that, and apparently it already exists on some level locally, is because and Randy Pace said it when he was talking this morning at the meeting, that there are people who don't live but own land in who vote. So theoretically, if I owned the property that our West store was on, I could vote in the city election, even though I live in the county. And Massey's working on a bill that's supposed to update that a little further, but it's essentially.
But you wouldn't be able to vote as a citizen in the two different districts.
No, I can vote
I vote as
other. No, I vote as a county resident, but I can be included. I can be included in elections because if I lived in the shop, I vote city county on city county elections. I can't I can't vote on a ballot item twice.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I can't vote as a landowner and as a resident because I live and own land in separate places if both those places are in the same jurisdiction. So if I'm a city resident, if I lived at your place but owned the property where the West store is, I couldn't vote twice in city elections.
Right.
But since I live in county, but in the scenario we're doing, since I live in county but own property in the city, I can then vote in city races even though I'm not a city resident. Which, I mean, I kind of get it, but it's kind of weird too. Like it tracks to me is that, property, I don't know. It tracks to me that makes sense, but it also doesn't. I'm conflicted on it, obviously. But that was a sidetrack from what I was getting at. But I don't know. So like I said, I got to meet a bunch of people that I've talked to face to face, and there's a number of people running for city races. That's what I was getting on. We have a city election coming up, and at least from the meeting, the GOP is going to put a bunch of effort into making sure they get more Republicans.
How soon?
It's August this year.
Okay.
Petitions are just now getting out. There's been people that they've wanted it have announced that they're planning on it. Like Tommy Smith from District 1 in the city, who's currently in the seat. He's up for re-election this time, and when he was here, he was talking that he does plan on it. And I was like, well, once you're officially in campaign time, we'll get back to it. But right now, we're just talking about what exists, not what you want to do in the future. And so I'm starting to find out some names. I haven't gotten scheduling on anybody in that conversation yet, but I got to meet a few Republicans that are running for that, even though it's a nonpartisan race. It's still obvious the parties have people in play. But Mr. Burchett was there, and
they look at the long game.
Yeah, and he looked at it. He spoke for a second, and he mentioned that when he's in D.C., he was handed a national publication that said the city of Knoxville has open Marxists on their council.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so I asked Matt Shears who the Marxists are on the city council, and Matt's like, I don't know. And so I'm not exactly sure. And he didn't, and
active Marxist.
Openly Marxist members of city council was what the quote was from Mr. Burchett. And let me be clear on it. It was Mr. Burchett paraphrasing some sort of publication he was given when he was in D.C. So I don't know. He didn't say what the publication was. I don't know where the reference came from. But that, yes, the city of Knoxville has openly Marxist council members is what I learned this morning at the GOP meeting.
That's weird.
It was strange. And again, like, I've had a couple city people on now, and I'm trying to shift some of the interviews into city and get more involved in understanding how the city politics work. as far as people I've talked to so far, maybe I need to research maybe I need to go all AC as define a Marxist, and then see if anybody I've talked to fits the bill.
Sounds like fear mongering to me.
Yeah, it does. There was a good bit of it at the meeting. There was Herrera, who ended up winning it. His kind of speech on it was, if we can't take back the city, we'll lose the county. As far as leadership and elected leaders go, if we can't take the city back, we're going to lose the county over time. Which is probably, it makes sense. It tracks to me. As Knox, even though as of right now, the city cannot annex any further. The city is the city limits and the weirdness that they are cannot change. That is fixed without. I can't remember exactly what the mechanism to change it is, but it's a significant effort. It was a Victor Ashe back when Mayor Ashe was city mayor. Apparently, he went crazy annexing stuff, and so I think the county put something into place to put a stop to that.
Like the Oprah, you're in the city. You're in the city. Everyone's in the city.
That's how. That's how it was kind of explained to me. Yeah, and so. So as far as I understand, the city cannot add property or add jurisdiction without some significant something happen, like a metro. But Matt said it a number of times. When you look at the data and stuff, Knox County used to be super red, and it's still red electively. But this last year, we District 1, where Lundy sits, has been a blue district for years, but District 2 has been like a 3 out of 4 red. And so like the last 2 or 3 elections for District 2 have been the Republican running, and Courtney Durrett, the Democrat, stole that one. Sorry, poor use of the word stole, but took that district, which to me, again, going back in time, having talked to both of them, Grant Rosenberg and Courtney Durrett, like talking to them at the time, I made the joke a couple of times. Like you couldn't, if I didn't know going in who was on what party, after talking to them and talking issues and talking about stuff that matters, I wouldn't have known the difference. Right. Like the only reason to me that one is a Republican and one is a Democrat is because it says it after their name, not because they're not super significantly different. And apparently Grant Rosenberg and this was implied by Randy. He didn't say it flat right out, but I'm pretty sure he was implying that Grant was apparently openly talking about making county elections nonpartisan. And that was something that the GOP at least didn't like, because apparently, according to the GOP, that nonpartisan really just means no Republicans. But again, that goes into the rhetoric game and a lot of stuff that's way over my head in history that I don't really know about because I didn't pay attention nor care. It was like 400 or 500 people there. It's pretty. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to see as far as number of people there, and with where the party's at and stuff like that, it was a pretty good mix. I mean, there was, Herrera's only 28, and then Kyle was there, and Kyle's 33. Mm-hmm. It's pretty mixed demographic. I mean, it was pretty white, but it's Knox County, so it's pretty white. But there were some significantly hunched over old men that can't stand up straight kind of deal, but there were younger dudes running around. Like this guy, I think he's running for District 6 in the city. Was introduced to me as that handsome man over there, and I looked over there. I was like, "Yeah, it's weird. I feel like that guy shouldn't wear a shirt. That guy should be just walking around shirtless all the time. Like, he's a handsome fella." I got to email him. He gave me his email address. He's running for 6. He's
a tall drink of water.
Yeah, Garrett Holt, I believe it is his name. He's running for District 6. So maybe I'll see if I can get him in here and do the show topless and do it right. I don't know. That's just
you would.
I know, and then we'll have tickle fights and all the other stuff that you guys like to make fun of me for.
So I got my COVID vaccine today.
Did you go to the VA?
Yeah, I stood out line like 400 people outside.
Yeah, I drove by there, and it was interesting because the line was going both directions.
Yeah, which I got in the line on the right, and then when we got closer, I realized that there's also a line on the left. So they had lines, like 2 lines that filtered in. But it took about 2 hours.
Damn.
in line, standing there.
What time are you there?
9:30.
Is this one you got to go back and get the second?
No, because I got the
Johnson.
No, it's Janssen. Janson.
I thought it was the Johnson & Johnson that was the 1-dose one.
No, that's what I thought too. And it's Janssen. They wrote it on the thing. Jansen. Janssen and Johnson.
That must be the military grade version.
I don't know, but it's funny because
generic version.
I was looking it up, and so they ran out of the Moderna, and then they switched to Janssen. But so you have 1/3 of the United States has been affected with coronavirus. So you got like a 66% chance. It's 6% chance you won't get the virus. I mean, if you look at it that way, and the Janssen is 66% effective. So I'm like, is it equal to not getting the vaccine versus getting the vaccine? I had to think about it, and I was like, how does that make any sense? If there's the same likelihood that I'm going to get the coronavirus without the vaccine, with the vaccine, but I guess it's 66% effective if you get the vaccine. I mean, if you get the virus.
Right. If you've had the vaccine and you come in contact.
Yeah.
66 out of 100 times, you're not going to get sick.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so there's a multiplier there somewhere. But at first I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why not get this? But I mean, obviously I only got it because of travel.
Yeah, and I'm still like everybody's chiming in about their wait list and wanting to get on the list and all this stuff, and I'm out here going like, I just need to get arrested and get it at the same time.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, they sent out a text to all veterans that were like, this Saturday, 8 to 1, come get vaccinating. I
mean, they just opened it up to 16 plus with medical condition.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the term was, but it was like the non-direct frontline workers, like people that work in the auxiliary of the industry. So not nurses and doctors, or even like I guess it's like orderly staff. And I couldn't quite understand what it was. I don't know if it's the guy that delivers I don't know if it's Mr. Bundles that delivers the bed sheets or whatever. He's eligible now.
I wonder. So.
I want to know who's last on the list.
I wasn't last on the list. So my wife, she used to take care of the old guy down the street.
Uh-huh.
And then he died, and so she obviously wasn't doing that. And then one of his daughters contacted her about taking care of her father-in-law's wife or something. So she met with him, I guess, the last couple of weeks, and met with her and stuff, and is going to start. She's got some dementia stuff going on, so they need help here or there when he's gone out of town or whatever. He works for UT, and he travels some. And so I wonder if, she should be able to move up on the list, because now she's a caregiver for an elderly person. I just don't know how to prove. How do you do that?
That's a good question. I mean, according to Sam, you just show up. You just show up with the old person, and they'll give it to you while you're there. Wasn't that you telling the story about the dude was in line with his dad?
Happened, yeah.
Really? You just show up with an old person. They're like, "Oh, you're here too, anyway."
No, they've talked about it. They don't have a way to kind of like verify, because there was it earlier this week or last week? I don't know how old the two women were, but they went in dressed up as elderly and were able to get a vaccine down in Florida.
Oh, I didn't heard that story. That's funny. I mean, again, like like I said, I'm curious who is last on the list. Like, is it just? I guess theoretically, I guess it's just kids, just normal kids be last on the list. That would make the most sense, I guess.
Yeah,
they're currently the least likely to have any effects from it, anyway.
Yeah,
it'll be fun because my oldest hates needles.
Like get verification that dressed up, because. What were they checking? Didn't they have to show an ID or something? Or they just showed up at the clinic and it was like a...
That's what I would have thought.
Just shot. I don't know.
If they just wrote down name and social or what. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's stories about people out there getting 3 or 4 of them that don't need them. going to from event to event. I mean, I guess at least we're not having the conversation about 1,000 of them disappearing again.
Yeah. Where was that
Well,
at?
they still wasn't sure if it actually disappeared. They couldn't really confirm if they ever actually received them.
Right, and I've heard like wink and a nod rumors that it was a bigger deal, like it's a bigger deal than what's happening, and that it was actually the health department lost them, and it's just them trying to play the game, trying to pass the buck and trying to blame it on, to not have to, take credit for losing them instead of it. We don't know if we actually received them or not. We can't really tell. They ship empty boxes with it, and it's craziness, and it's possible, but. We also think they might not have sent it. I don't know. It feels to me like they screwed up, and they don't want to fully
go both
admit
ways.
it.
Right. Maybe the manufacturer wanted to say they've sent out, this number of vaccines. They're like, oh no, we shipped it. We have proof that we shipped that box out.
Right. But the tracking didn't go right or whatever.
Yeah.
I still think it's weird that they ship empty boxes. I get the or not empty.
Yeah, there was no tracking.
Right. I think it's weird that they ship boxes of dry ice separate with it. I mean, I get it because. The logic makes sense that, the worst thing that could happen is it arrives and the facility doesn't have a storage space to keep it to the right temperature. And so you send extra dry ice with it so that they can repack it and keep it cold until it needs to be cold. It's just, I don't know. I feel like a health department should have a freezer available. And especially if something of this importance, make a freezer available.
I mean, they may have a freezer,
get a
but
new
it may
freezer.
not be. I think it was one of the vaccines that had to be kept at like -30, -40.
Yeah.
Like I doubt they've got the deep freezers.
I feel like that's something that, given the situation and the amount of money flowing around to health departments and stuff like that to deal with it, and I'm not complaining about it, but the sense that, okay, we got vaccines coming out. One of the things is this -40 thing that either state health departments or the federal government should either be purchasing these freezers and sending them to the locations, or they should be charging the local boards of health and health departments to go out and get a freezer and have one available for when the vaccine shows up. I mean, the vaccine is gold at this point. It is in everyone's best interest for the people that have to handle it to have the right tools and equipment available. Mm-hmm. And they don't come from the same people. Johnson & Johnson or Jensen or whoever the fuck you got your vaccine from.
So listen, we're both right. The company is Johnson & Johnson. The vaccine is the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine.
So some guy, good for Janssen. Whoever Janssen is, good job, buddy. You did great work, and you got it named after you. So it's the Janssen Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
It's a big donor. It was a Dolly put up $1 million that went towards either research or one of the vaccine companies.
Dude, if I understand it right, the way what is it called, the Operation Warp Speed or whatever worked, is fucking crazy. Essentially, as I understand it, it was literally the federal government says to drug manufacturers, make it and send us the bill. And if it doesn't work, we'll still pay for
it. To an extent, yeah. It was giving incentive to people to work their ass off, basically.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but it's like, even if
it opened up the door for a lot of people.
Even if you fail, you win.
Yeah,
it's like
all these companies were jumping in. It's like, you make trash bags. Like, you want money to make a vaccine? Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched War Dogs. Have you guys seen War Dogs? So,
yeah.
Jonah Hill and the kid from Ready Player One.
That's a good movie.
It was pretty good. Apparently, Jonah Hill's only good at doing coke in the movies. That's like his best work, is he's getting coked up and a little crazy. Because like he was fantastic. I thought he was Wolf of Wall Street. Him and Wolf of Wall Street, all jacked up on barbiturates and whatnot. That character was crazy. So real life characters that are coke junkies. That's Jonah Hill's bread and butter. But anyway, yeah, that was a very. I enjoyed that movie a lot last. I watched that last night and I enjoyed it very much. But I bring it up because it's kind of the same concept as the federal government gets in trouble for doing something or has a program in place to try to incentivize whatever, and that's how the characters in the movie exist, is they turn into these weird arms dealers to get weapons and ammunitions and all that stuff for the army and stuff like that in Iraq and Afghanistan and all the stuff that's going on over there. And like when did you see it, Max?
Say again?
Was it recent? How do you remember the movie fairly well?
No, I do. I remember how they bid on the contract and had no idea how to even get the arms for it.
Right, and so like
they got ordered it, and then they were like, "Oh shit, how are we going to get weapons?"
Well, and so one of the big things that the movie highlights that you don't really think about is like, like there's different countries that have different rules, and we have embargoes with, or we have trade restrictions with, and stuff like that. And so one of the reasons that this company existed is that they would buy weapons from countries and then sell them to the army, because the army can't buy the weapons from people in like this particular country, whatever it is. Like they have an issue with Berettas. So Berettas are Beretta's an Italian company, and their manufacturing facilities in Italy. And Italy, I think it was at the time, Italy had a thing where they were not allowing anybody to ship anything into Iraq. And so the guys in the movie buy these Berettas, and I can't remember, Syria or something like that. They get sent to Syria, and then they go into Syria, throw them in the back of a truck, and drive into Iraq with them. And the big thing, and the really big kicker of the movie is these Chinese AK rounds, which were a big deal, and that's what ends up taking them down or whatever. But again, the point being is that you have this government has this need, and then they have a process they have to do because they have to be transparent about it, because they've gotten in trouble doing the nepotism stuff and the no bid contract issues and all that kind of crap. And so they have to throw this out to everybody, like your trash bag manufacturers. And then, people that can figure out how to game the crap out of it. And so it's like a $300 million, like the big deal was like a $300 million deal that they underbid the next competitor by like 50 something million dollars. And that's why they got the contract. And that's because they had some guy that they knew, that they found out through something, that had access to a bunch of Chinese AK rounds, but the U.S. government is not allowed to use Chinese AK rounds, or at least at the time, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect from it, because there's that other one. Was it God of War?
That's what I was about to say. Did you ever see God of War? Yeah, that was based on a true story.
Yeah, so is this one.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah.
It's based on a true story. Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, God of War with what's his name? The Mercury.
John Cusack.
John Cusack? I thought it was.
That's what I thought it was.
Not Matthew McConaughey. I thought it was. God, who am I thinking it was? Nick Cage. I thought it was Nick Cage in that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was Nick Cage.
I need to rewatch it.
He had the Russian uncle. That was his end of getting all the old, former, Soviet arms that he was
right. Yeah, because apparently
moving that was throughout the world.
Yeah, but that was part of this one. Is that like I can't remember what country it was. Had a big stockpile of when they were inside the Soviet bloc. They had this big stockpile of weapons and stuff like that. But this country is trying to join the UN or something like that, and part of getting in the UN is you can't have certain stuff, and so this country's military is trying to get rid of this stuff, even though the U.S. can't buy it. It's just a weird little logistics conversation. It was neat. It was a fun movie. Anyway, what's else? What's going on local that I was trying to remember? There's something else. What did I say in the intro? I had an intro for a reason. Mm-hmm. I can't go back. It ruins the recording. I don't know.
Some of the different candidates you had coming on.
Yeah, the baseball one's Monday. That's going to be interesting. All three of the major players in putting the program together are going to be here. And I don't know. That one might be a little tough just because it's going to be a lot of
Have
numbers.
they decided a place to put it?
I mean, they have a proposed location, yes.
And that's down by the old city?
Right. Essentially right there behind the Weigels.
Okay.
Was it James White Parkway right there?
Yeah.
So like where James White Parkway, basically where the old city ends, because James White Parkway there. And then, so it'll be on the east side of James White between 40 and Summit Hill.
Yeah, somebody was telling me I thought it was kind of closer to
where the softball fields are right now.
No, it's like you know where Chicken City is? Not Chicken City. There's an Asian food wholesaler, and it's not Chicken City, but it's a poultry wholesaler that I used to buy stuff for when I worked for the Hose.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking. So between Summit Hill and Magnolia.
Yeah, that little wedge in there. I can't remember the names of the streets, but was it Jackson? Because Jackson is the east-west through the old city, and so it's between Jackson and Summit Hill. And so most of it, it's like that Weigels. Really, that's the only way that's the easiest way to describe it. Like, you go behind that Weigels, and it's right there. And it'll be a couple of square blocks. of stuff. And I think there's like I think it's a half mile or a quarter mile circumference will be the tax district that they're trying to get in place. And that's that's the part. And if, like, I've talked to Eddie Manis a little bit about it because that's a state level thing, the special tax district. And essentially what they do is they set a base number of sales tax collected inside that district. And that district right now is nothing. I think the only thing in that district might be barleys and whatever went into Blue Cats. And, you know, maybe that Weigels might catch it a little bit. But there's really nothing down there that's generating any sales tax revenue. And so of the 7% the state takes, 5% of that minus whatever the current revenue is from that district will come back to service the stadium. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so but put it this way: if the circle that they draw on the map is generating $1,000 in sales tax revenue total right now, once the stadium's built, once the other stuff's built around it, and it's generating millions of dollars, subtract that 1,000 that it's doing now first, and then the difference is what's eligible to go into paying the stadium off. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's basically what it is. And so basically, it's all the taxes collected there that don't currently exist because there's nothing there will go to pay for it, but only some of it, because we'll still get I don't know, because this is where I get lost, because you know the premise of, well, if we're not making any money off it now and we're still not making any money off on the other side, that's not exactly how it works. There will be new revenue into Knox County coffers from sales tax and property tax on that location, unless there is no sales tax, because nothing goes down there and nothing, you know, and nobody's making any money. That's the question. That's the only real question left for me, to really put it home. It's like, what happens if nothing happens? What happens if we build the stadium and the Smokies cease to exist, and Randy Boyd has some super issue and he ends up scrapping the whole project and all the stuff he's promised?
All the businesses he put in there, no one can afford to lease that property out, let alone make a profit to put taxes back into the city. Right.
That's the only real question is what happens if nothing happens financially, because somebody still has to pay for the construction, and that to me is about the only question left.
Something I thought was interesting, the website, I haven't been able to go back and find it. It was linked in a local
I don't believe it exists.
News app.
I think you're making it up.
I mean, I saw it. It made me look at it through kind of some kind of browser within the local news app. But I think it had had a camera that you could watch, I guess, the demolition, and when they start construction, you could kind of like live stream the construction or the stadium being built and kind of watch it come up all at the same time. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I'd be curious to watch it. It'd be fun. When I get the green screen set up, we can shoot the show and have the video of it going on in the background. It'd be fun.
So as long as they've got like a time lapse option, like, hey, we've been recording for 45 days. Can you condense this and kind of speed it up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sure they can. It'll be fun. It'll be run real fast. It'll be interesting. Homeless tent city. That's another thing that's going on. Maybe. That didn't get passed. A couple $1 million in crime prevention. Something's going on in the city with all the shootings going on, which I don't want to editorialize. There have been many people shot to death this year in Knox County. In comparison to prior years, it looks like we're ahead of schedule, but
yeah, apparently it's not common.
I won't say it's crazy or not.
The FBI actually put in like rewards for help in leading some of the recent murders.
Yeah, I saw that.
They don't normally get involved. They said in some cases, I guess they've got a certain fund that they can give to cities.
Oh, did you hear that the FBI? Apparently, the FBI has been working on a thing locally for a while in conjunction with the TBI and local law enforcement. Then they recovered like 150 people that have been abducted in a human trafficking thing going on. And I mean, that's, again, to editorialize, that's a little crazy that there's that many. And that's certainly not everybody. It's a good number of people just getting found. That's why we need a drone, I guess.
Okay, I found where it's going now. Yeah, I looked at the map. It's right behind the Weigels. all the way to Jackson. There's like a field drainage thing, and then there's a couple businesses. Obviously, they'll be getting knocked down.
Yeah.
Is there an echo?
One of those. And what I found that really cool, and I'll try to follow up on this with the guys that know the plan better, is the something fireproof storage building. It's been down there forever. That's part of this project. It had a water tower on the roof.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, Boyd took the water tower down, and it is going to be part of the stadium when it gets built. If it gets built, excuse me.
He put his name on it before the elections.
But
I don't think I ever really noticed that thing until I was like, "Oh, Randy Boyd."
I mentioned it to Eric Wader at one point. We were talking. He's like, "Yeah, I've heard about." I was like that. I for whatever reason, that water tower always stuck out to me driving through downtown. I'm like, "Oh, that's a bummer that'll be gone." He's like, "No, I'm pretty sure Boyd said it's in the plans to put it like on the new stadium. It'll be part of the structure of the new stadium, not a functional structure, just an eye candy piece." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I like that. That makes me happy." And which his reply was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a very nice looking building.
$10,000 to the player that can hit it with a home run."
Yeah. But
I've been curious to go back, as it was maybe a couple months ago that the FBI raided some of the offices in Nashville. I don't know if anything's come out from it since.
I saw a follow-up story on it, and I cannot remember because somebody posted it in one of the Facebook groups I'm on, and I blasted whoever posted it for posting it because it was like the article was all hearsay. There was no, this is what they said. This is like, it was, I think the only quote in an article was from a person who used to work for the FBI that says, oftentimes in a raid of this sort, this is what we go in there looking for. But so the whole article was based around somebody who's not in anymore telling stories of similar situations that this could fall into. So zero evidence on it, and it was a very biased article to boot. Like like just all the verbiage was very, like, it was very clearly a left-leaning, like extremely clearly left-leaning news source, whatever the source was, I cannot recall. And it goes down there because, again, I don't remember who the particular people at play were, but it was
the Speaker Sexton was one of the main people that was mentioned.
Which it's the state of Tennessee, so they're obviously Republicans, and so the whole thing was about the evils of the Republicans. Was this whole article, and this is the evil Republicans getting caught, and this, that, and the other. And it's like there's no evidence of that anywhere in your story. It might be true, I don't know, but reading your story on it, you're literally your only proof provided is that a guy that doesn't do the job anymore remembers a case similar to this, and it was some corruption thing or something like that was going on.
Right.
And it's like, well, I'm glad that, yeah. So I'm glad I read that, and now I don't know anything new. I just know that there's people out there writing bad articles about it that don't say anything, and then people are excited.
It's still under investigation, and that's why nothing's really been released.
But people are out there excitedly sharing this article like it means something, and it's like, it doesn't mean anything. Stop it.
Yeah, I doubt it spread too far, but I could be wrong.
Do what?
I said I doubt that article spread too far, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was I want to say it was a Nashville-based news organization. I mean, and I read it, so it got to Knoxville at least.
It got to Knoxville.
But how many people?
Because somebody in your group shared it.
Right. I can't remember which group that was. I'm on a number of groups now. I'm in the Compass Colloquially.
Everybody wants to be your friend.
I know, that's what's getting me in trouble at work.
Soliloquy?
I have so many friends that have influence now, and my boss doesn't want me selling other people's products. But yeah, I got in a big fight about the trans sports thing. And have you read it? Have you actually read the bill, HB3? It's pretty bad. Like the general premise, I am for the premise of that we're okay with delineating other things and why certain people are allowed to participate and aren't. We're okay with saying that Eric Berry can't come play Fulton High School football because he's aged out. So we can discriminate by age, and we're okay with that, and we're okay with all these different things. And this trans issue is an issue, and it's something that that needs to be worked on and open discussion and figure something out. But the way it's written is super derogatory for no good reason. Like, it's bad. Like, there's a couple times where it references choice. Like, it's a choice to be trans. It's a choice to be super uncomfortable in your body and think that feel like you're the other gender that you were born with or something like that. It's like, that bothered me.
I can't remember where I read it, but there was another, and apparently it's been introduced a few times in the state Congress, but trying to make the Bible our state book, kind of like the state tree, and
that's stupid.
Which I want to say it was Lamar Alexander or somebody. I guess one of the last times it was up, it was like, I don't think we need to put the Bible on the same playing field as our state tree and state flower and blah blah blah.
I think it's just a weird thing to have state things of outside of a certain.
They're saying essentially it's illegal to do that because I guess by law you can't have a religious preference.
Right.
In politics,
right, and it should if you're going to do that, then it needs to be like the state book series, and we have all the religious texts as one, and just but that's stupid.
Somebody's going to get left out,
right? Yeah,
we'd have to have a library for all the books.
But I mean, I feel like if you're gonna have a book, it needs to be like a Daniel Boone story or something like that, like some classic, the history of Tennessee, like some old fashioned. But then that'll be racist, so never mind.
Yeah, it'd be racist.
I think we had a few famous authors that have come out.
James Agee.
So, I got something for you guys. So if I would have said that, why isn't Tennessee the sponsor of the NBA? You guys would have said I'm like the most racist motherfucker ever.
What? Say if who was the sponsor?
Tennessee.
Why is Hennessy or why? Or you okay? If you say they should be because okay, go ahead.
That Hennessy should be the sponsor of the NBA. Like I'd be called a racist. And I was watching a commercial last night. It was a Hennessy commercial, and it says the number one sponsor or the proud sponsor of the NBA or the drink for the NBA. I was like, what? What?
No, that's called good marketing. Know your audience. I mean, that's good marketing. It's not racist. It's good marketing. There are demographics of people. We acknowledge that, correct? Like we acknowledge that there are different people that live in this country, and there are different preferences by different demographics. Obviously.
I'm just saying, if I would have said it, it would have been construed as racist.
I mean, the problem is Hennessy's. What is Hennessy? It's cognac.
Cognac, yeah.
And that's French, right?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like Crown. It was like a blend whiskey or something. I don't know.
It's a cognac.
Yeah, and so it's a French liqueur. So it's probably owned by a bunch of white dudes. So
probably.
I mean, they're the racists. They're the ones marketing their product to black people. That's rude and racist. I mean, I'm sure some white dude in North Carolina owns Newports too. So I mean, it goes back to you weren't here for our last time we got together when AC was here, and we had this whole discussion about the black business yellow pages kind of thing. Jeez Louise. Sorry,
it's thundering.
There's thunder here out in the west side of town. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. We had this whole conversation about the black phone book, for lack of a better word, and like what that means to I don't know. It's just one of those like I don't care that it exists, but I care that if an inverse isn't allowed to exist because I guess the inverse does exist. Presumably because the normal yellow pages is for white people. And that's the problem I have with it. I don't care that it exists, but because a business is owned by a certain person other than ethnic foods or something specifically ethnic, I don't care who owns it. I want whoever does the best job at it. So if I want Chinese food, I want Asian people cooking it because it's their mama's recipe or whatever, and that's the best kind of Chinese food or whatever. That's the only time an ethnicity should matter in your purchasing habits. It should be, to me, if you're going to put a hierarchy of why you spend your money with a certain company, it's the quality of the product, or if it comes out of the quality of the product, then it needs to be like a neighbor's kind of thing to me. And if your neighbors are black or white or whatever, you should support your neighbors' businesses. Doesn't matter what color they are. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a long diatribe. Oh yeah, because Hennessy, it's your fault.
Tennessee. Is there a song like that?
Tennessee, yes, that's a good song.
I like that song.
Take me to another place. Take me to that one.
Oh no! I was singing Strawberry Wine. That's all popular now.
Oh no, I don't know that one. What else we got? We got so much stuff going on. I don't even feel like I'm catching everything.
We've got
Board of Health meets, or Board of Health meets next month because they meet every month right now. But the second reading will be in April, so we got another month before that comes back.
before they decide if they're going to extend the.
No, yeah, the Board of Health. That Board of Health will do that thing. I was talking about the commission voting on whether to keep the Board of Health in existence. That comes back in April because they postponed it for 90 days to make room
When
for
does the
baseball.
bar moratorium, whatever?
They've been meeting monthly, and they just met last week. I think it's the last week of the month is what they've been meeting.
I think they were doing every 2 weeks, but
I think they were.
They keep trying to change it.
They were doing every 2 weeks, and I think at the last meeting, which was back in like the 24th or something like that, they moved it from 11 to 12. Capacity stayed the same, and they voted to go to a monthly meeting instead of a biweekly meeting. And so now they won't meet again until the 20-something of this month, to which hopefully they'll push it back another hour, or maybe leave it at 12 and open percentage of occupancy up, or some combination thereof.
Well, there's a bunch of states that opened wide up in the last week.
I mean, Tennessee's been open up wide up the whole time. It's just about
2 states.
Huh?
2 states.
2 states are fully open. What? Florida and Texas?
Texas, Mississippi, and I think it goes into effect like this week or next week. I don't think it was immediate. I think it was within like 2 weeks or whatever.
Well, I mean, Tennessee never really.
Alabama announced it. They're doing it.
Yeah,
like the 1st of April or something like that.
I mean, Tennessee never fully shut down. They put a bunch of localities to it. They let localities make the decision, but statewide, Tennessee never put statewide stuff in place.
We had the stay-at-home orders, but I don't think it was. I think it was still more of a suggestion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that again. What an executive order. I think one of the real conversations needs to be had about the Board of Health situation. As much as the libertarianism in me says the Board of Health shouldn't exist because they're unelected bodies making decisions for about you and me and the way we're allowed to live our lives or whatever. But I think there needs to be a definition of. There needs to be a real and better definition of what a state of emergency is, or what a location. I don't know, a local emergency, whatever the termage is. That what you can put into. When you can put something into a state of emergency, and then what that means and for how long it can last. Because one of the things that Lee keeps doing, and this is a federal issue as well as a state and local, one of the things Governor Lee keeps doing, because he should, not because we're still under an emergency, but because as long as we are and we fit the parameters to stay in one, we keep getting federal dollars. And so I'm not mad at Lee for continuing the state of emergency because it gives us federal funding to do more stuff. And we might as well do whatever we can to get as much of that money as we can because they're going to throw it somewhere. But it's just such a loose shit show of an emergency. And so like the Board of Health powers don't change in or out of a state of emergency. But I think that's what they need to do. Like stuff like a mask mandate, stay-at-home order, stuff like that needs to be in. That authority needs to only exist in a state of emergency, and then that state of emergency can only exist when a certain set of parameters are in place. Like, I don't know, Katrina style sort of thing. That's when I can get behind the idea of letting a government body completely take over a locality in the way that the Board of Health kind of did, or kind of pushed towards. Maybe not completely took over, but those kind of invasive mandates, which I accept can exist and can need to exist in certain instances, but they should only be within a very strict framework of when they're allowed to. And that's what I have a problem with what's going on right now, is I don't feel like the framework is there, because if it's going to go on this long, then it needs to be, especially if it's going to go on this long, it needs to be something that is voted upon by elected officials when something's going like that long. So, anyway, that was my rant on that. So, what do you got? What else you got, Max? It's been a while.
My wife is competing in the North American Mermaid Championship in August.
Awesome.
I would love to make a joke about that's a thing, but I know things like that exist, so I'll leave it be. That's pretty cool.
It is up in Toronto.
In Toronto. Are you allowed to go to Toronto?
There was a
Not
mermaid
Toronto,
market in Toronto.
Montreal, not in Montreal. That's
Are you allowed to go? Well, so that means
Gotta learn French.
That means she's learning French now, so that'll get her to at least French, Spanish, and English.
Gotta get some poutine.
if she wins, going to the long shot, she'll qualify for the World Mermaid Championship in China.
Wow.
Of course, it's in China. It's probably in it's probably in like Wuhan or something like that too. That's nowhere near the ocean.
Exactly.
Because why not? We're going to Montreal for a mermaid competition. So are there lake mermaids? Do those exist?
Lake mermaid?
Yeah, you can be a mermaid wherever you want as long as there's water.
Be a mermaid with some kind of water.
Be a mermaid in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just curious because I'm trying to figure out where these mermaids are coming from.
Be a mermaid wherever you want.
That's pretty neat, though. Good for her.
Hell yeah.
Get it, girl.
I think the air guitar competition still tickles me.
When
People get hardcore into it.
Yeah. When
Like, you're not doing anything.
When pandemic first came down, they did that ESPN Ocho thing for a while. I had a great time with that. Had marble races and all sorts of crazy, weird, competitive things.
I did childishly enjoy the marble races too.
There's a bunch of them that were
pretty
fun.
cool.
Yeah, it's neat stuff. You don't get to see
really
every
popular.
day.
I think it was what's his name? John Oliver. They picked it up and did a little segment on it and actually sponsored one of the races.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Had little mini billboards up on the track.
It's perfect. I mean, I don't know. That's the cool thing about being human. I guess we get to we're allowed to. That's the weird thing about as crazy as things are and crazy as the economy is and all that kind of stuff. These are the things that are allowed to exist in this world. Go back 100 years and let's have a conversation about international mermaid competitions. Probably get burned as a witch if you thought you were a mermaid.
I can't remember if I mentioned it before. I remember reading an interesting article last year. People talk about, the kids these days getting stuck on their phones all the time. Apparently when newspapers were really popular around the turn of the 20th century, they had articles saying the same thing, that, all these people just had their heads stuck. They were on the trolleys and had their heads stuck in newspapers, just reading the newspaper all day and weren't talking to anybody, weren't socializing. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's kind of the same things happening. It's just kind of different medium.
Right, and I think that's that is a normal transition. And I think last time you were on the show, Max, I can't remember what the subject was, but we were having this conversation. I'm pretty sure you were talking about how stupid kids are, and that I'm on with Sam on this topic, and that every generation has their version of this conversation. Whether it's the kids are dumb and they're going to grow up to be idiots, or whatever the technology of the day is that takes over the younger generations being the older generations are like, well, they're going to be stupid because they're too far into that thing. And then somehow we keep going on.
I can lean a little bit into that. I mean, reading the newspaper, you're reading news. I mean, you could say there's probably some bullshit fluff articles in there.
Fake news!
But, at the same time, a lot of kids on the phone, they're watching cat videos and
not
necessarily watching, Sid the Science Kid and Mr. Wizard things, doing cool experiments.
And you're not wrong, and I don't know, that does lean a hard assumption into that it was a fact-based newspapers that weren't, because I mean, I know it used to be very common that you would have like what in podcasting now you have serial podcasts where it's they do a series of 20 episodes and it's a big long story or whatever, and it's a fiction. Some of them are true stories, but some of them are fiction stories, whatever. And that was popular back in the day with newspapers, is that you'd have newspapers that the weekly edition of the newspaper, page 13 or whatever, was basically like a chapter of a book, some random novel, and then each new episode of the book came out on subsequent days or weeks or editions of the newspaper.
It's more like the Reader's Digest had all that stuff.
I mean, in our lifetime, we're talking about before, in the heyday of the newspaper, it was common to have, and not so much a book. I don't know how to describe it. It was a serial, is what they call them. That's where the term serial.
It was like correspondence that were traveling around wherever, and we're sending back, correspondence like, hey, I just visited this, and you tell me about my time here.
Right, but some of them
that's why I got Playboy when I was 13 for the fantastic articles.
Right, you got your subscription when you were 13.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably look like you were probably as tall as a 25-year-old at that point, so why not? All right, well, we brought up Playboy, so I feel like that's as good a time to end as any. We'll call
this episode is not brought to you by.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Do they still exist?
Let's say I think they may be gone under.
All right, well, Rest in peace, Playboy, from Almost in Agreement. Hope everybody that got the chance enjoyed it when it was there. We're Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Check out our new website at almostinagreement.com. I've got Lundy, Massey, and the baseball crew on a couple days from now. And then I'm hitting the road for spring break, so I don't know how we're going to do that week. I'm going to try to maybe backstock, do a couple of extra episodes and schedule them so we don't miss a whole week and a half or two. And then on the other side of that, I've got some school board stuff coming back up. So if you have any questions about that, actually, if you have any questions that you want to know more about the baseball stadium things, get on our Facebook page and submit us some questions about something that you've heard all the parts and pieces, something that you want to know about the baseball stadium, and I'll see if I can ask that question for you in that interview. I think that's all I got. Appreciate everybody for listening. Appreciate the guys for getting together today. AC, you suck for needing sleep for some reason because you work at night. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We'll talk to you later.